Yeah, so we had another message in from Ashwin about his previous point.
Oh,
that
wonderful.
Said the point between not having both eggs and nuts, if I, so I'd said that I'd given up eggs. And Ashwin's come back with, the point is that both eggs and nuts have the potential to create new life, so why discriminate? I suppose that makes sense.
So a nut has...
Yeah, I mean, new life springs from a nut, but if I'm trying to be careful about not stopping any new life, in plants or animals, I'm not really left with much to eat.
Well, I think it's a wonderful point that Ashwinji has raised. Let's focus using pure reason on what he's just said. It seems to me, Ashwinji, that what you're saying is that life should be respected and that your actions shouldn't take life.
Yeah, that seems reasonable.
But if you have a look at it from the deeper point of view, inside of your stomach, right, there are billions of living bacteria, and every time you eat anything, they die in their billions, and then they're born again. So part of the physical environment is life, isn't it? We take and give life all the time.
We are all mass murderers.
Yeah, and the air is full of fungal spores. We breathe them in, and thousands of them every second are destroyed. So I'm not sure that that's a reasonable contribution. But
you do get, because I'm a vegetarian myself, and I always get, plants have feelings too. Don't eat, vegetables. So how would you, if everything's living, how would... how would you argue with someone unreasonable?
If you were to take a bite out of a cow, I'm pretty sure it would make its feelings quite well known.
Exactly.
Right? I think there's a different degree of consciousness, a different, it's sentient, but to a different level.
That's right.
You try to take a bite out of a cow, it'd kick you or run away, right? I mean...
Definitely.
I think a sprig of broccoli would not do the same.
No, it wouldn't.
So, Ashwinji, until a peanut says to me, please don't eat me, I think we're going to go along with it's okay and reasonable to have that sort of a diet. But eggs is different. If an egg is allowed to follow its natural process, it creates a creature, and a creature has consciousness, and it has a life purpose as well.
Yeah, I think it was also the thought, when I did it, was the thought of what an egg's actually made out of, the material. They talk about the energy cycle. Right, sun's energy goes into plants, and then it goes into flesh, animals, and it's more efficient to eat plants because they have more of the sun's energy. So in my mind, the reasoning was that an egg is made out of the same material that flesh is.
Well, I think it's been proven, isn't it, that it's more reasonable not to eat meat and those products. It's better for the earth. I had a text message come through a couple of days ago where somebody was saying that it takes 60 litres to produce a certain quantity of food and 60,000 litres to produce the same...
60 litres?
60 litres to produce grain.
Of water?
Of water, sorry.
Okay.
And yet 60,000 litres to produce the same quantity of food that would last you the same sort of time in a meat-based diet.
Wow.
So, it certainly seems to be more reasonable to carry on attacking peanuts than it does to attacking chickens and turkeys.
Yeah.
And
We've had a text from Raji from Seven Kings who agrees with us. He said, our body and system is made to eat plants and nuts, not flesh made of animals with eyes and a blood-pumping heart, which is very true.
Yeah, thank you very much for that, Raji. We totally agree. That was a completely reasonable contribution. Thank you for that, and keep them coming. While we were talking about these resolutions, one of the things that we did a bit of research on was what's the oldest resolution we could find? Not so easy to find, but one thing that springs out straight away is things like commandments. The 10 Commandments, they are resolutions where if you want to be a part of that community, then really you're supposed to sign up to those 10 resolutions, aren't you? Thou shalt not this, thou shalt not that.
So it goes through the resolution of making a promise to God that you won't do something.
Yeah, like you said, like the Babylonians used to.
Yeah, and on the other side, yoga practitioners are probably familiar with the 10 resolutions that they also make, and the yamas and the niyamas, the resolutions to non-violence, I think, is probably the most popular and the most widely known one. Ahimsa, that's a resolution that a person undertakes when they start practices. And others like being truthful and non-grasping, that's always a good one, etc. So resolutions have been around for a long time. In fact, one of the other things I unearthed was abracadabra has a meaning, and that was, let it be as I have said. So it's
That's
like
interesting.
a
I just thought it was
declaration.
something you wave a wand with and say.
Yeah. So in times gone past, somebody would make a resolution or an affirmation, and then at the end say abracadabra, which means let it be so. And like Om Tat Sat.
Yeah, I was going to say.
In the name of God, let it be so. So yeah, they've been around for quite some time. If anyone's aware of anything older than the Yamas and Niyamas, which I think are about 5,000 years old, as the earliest resolutions, please phone in or text in and let us know.
Right, so we were briefly talking about the Yamas and the Niyamas, and I think it's probably a good place to look for some ideas, if you don't have ideas about New Year's resolutions, right?
Definitely. So there was non-violence.
Yeah, so there's non-violence, truthfulness. What were the other ones?
I think truthfulness is a really good one, because so often we find ourselves, or we find people lying, and so much trouble comes from it.
One of them is called Daya, and that is compassionate interaction, being generous, overly generous, and unnecessarily and not measuring. It's part of seva and service. And 2 years ago, I made that as a resolution. It wasn't a new year, but it was a resolution that, okay, from this day forward, I'm going to do a bit more of this type of activity. And I have to say, looking back on last year and the year before, the results of it have been absolutely phenomenal. Doing things which have got no benefit attached to them and making a resolution that that's what you're going to do. It generates rewards in totally unexpected places. You get to meet all sorts of people you'd never expected to meet, and you do things that you'd never intended to do. So I think that's a good resolution for people to consider.
Yeah, no, they definitely say what you put out there is what you get back.
Yeah, and good attracts more good. So that's a good New Year's resolution. Live a good, compassionate life.
Be good.
Don't be bad. Don't lie.
So we've got two resolutions. We've got Vivek, who's been supported in his resolution about being more selfish, and then at the other extreme we have a resolution which is to, at the same time, do lots of unselfish things as well.
Yeah.
We've had a text in from Neela who said, "Hello guys, I've been vegetarian. I don't eat meat, eggs or drink. I want to keep it up all my life." So.
Wonderful. Thank you for that. I don't think you'll find any disagreement on this side of the microphone.
All silent in agreement.
No, but that is wonderful. So if you were to do a resolution then, Neelaji, what would you resolve to do? What's left to do? Are you ready to work down the remaining resolutions that we've talked about, the Yamas and the Niyamas? Text us in and let us know. Let us know. It sounds as though you've got a mastery over making resolutions and sticking with them there.
Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, but, going back to what Prerna was saying, truthfulness, I reckon, would be a really hard one.
Yeah, and a really entertaining one. Can you imagine being truthfully offensive?
Yeah, no, I mean, I was just thinking, that was the example that came into my mind. A number of times my mum asks me, how does this look? If I was to just turn around and say, nah, not very good.
I think she'd value that more, because you're giving an honest opinion. So she wouldn't wear that. She'd choose something else.
Actually, there's hidden benefit in that one, because she'd also stop cooking for you, I imagine, and so you'd lose an awful lot of weight as well and become healthier. So there you go, being truthful as a Yama or a Niyama or as a resolution has got benefits in many areas.
Yeah, so I mean, I think that's an important example of how they could. So if you're being truthful and being compassionate, in that situation where my mum's asked me, what do you do? What do you favour?
I think truthfulness, because being truthful, you are being compassionate towards your mother by saying that doesn't look that great.
You look awful, and you should know that you look awful.
But you can say it in a nice way.
I'm doing you a favour, telling you look awful.
Be truthful in a compassionate way.
Okay, so are there a group of people who we think should be required to make New Year's resolutions?
Those that need to.
How about our political representatives?
Oh, that'd be really good.
Can you imagine every year requiring them to make commitments and then seeing whether they abide by them? They haven't publicly displayed on.
I think they do that in their manifesto.
Okay, so they could certainly do with more practice in that case, couldn't they?
Yeah,
we've not had many of those upheld recently, and I think truthfulness would be a really good one. So shall we launch a campaign this year to encourage our political representatives, MPs of all parties and colours, to actually come forward with resolutions at the beginning of the year and say, this is what we're going to stick to, and make a sankalpa, and let's see whether they do. I think that would be a really good practice. A really good practice.
I think with truthfulness comes a lot of respect. I think most politicians, people have the perception that, they lie and they manipulate words and their promises, whereas if they were truthful, maybe people would have more respect for them.
People of character, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think that'd make a big difference. But the question is, do these people do well in political arenas, like the ones where everyone else isn't really sticking to the same rules?
I'm not sure. That's the thing, because of democracy, the way it works, people want to hear what they want to hear, and they want to vote for people who are perceived to be doing good for them. Whether they do that or not, it's a different story.
But I think part of being a leader is the capacity to make resolutions and to make statements and make decisions and then stick by them.
Definitely.
No, definitely.
Everybody has different ideas about Margaret Thatcher, for example, but she used to make resolutions and decisions and then come hell or high water. What was her famous resolution? This lady is not for turning.
That's a good one.
Yeah, and no matter what the outcome of her decisions, she's still respected for having made those determinations and resolutions and then stuck by them.
No, that's definitely true.
We've had a text from Samraj. He said, is lying and hiding the truth the same thing?
Is lying and hiding the truth the same
Interesting.
thing?
So, using the mother example I said, when she comes out in, an outfit, I suppose if she asked me, how do I look?
Abstain.
Yeah, if I could just say no comment, well, I suppose it'd be obvious. or just said something like, okay, or you don't look bad. So,
Yeah, so you wouldn't be lying, but then you wouldn't be telling the truth either.
yeah.
I guess I did the bar, and that's one thing that we were trained to do. You don't tell the truth, but then you don't lie, but you don't tell the truth either. You just don't mention something, or you say it in such a way that it doesn't jeopardise your case.
But that's in the adversarial arena, isn't it? There is a battle going on, and the winner takes all, literally. In
Definitely.
But I think that last point was actually a really good one. I think if you were to lie, then that's clearly a negative, isn't it?
Definitely.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, when you lie,
If you knowingly articulate a mistruth, and that is a negative. I think we're all agreed on that. And maybe withholding the truth. That's an interesting one. I imagine that's in the grey area where we can all have a huge amount of fun, right?
yeah, I definitely think that's
it adds
not
an
as
awful lot of
bad.
colour to life, doesn't it? I would suspect that if withholding the truth led to somebody suffering, then it was the wrong thing to
Definitely.
do.
Well, okay, okay. I think it's not as bad as lying outright, but say if you were to withhold the truth and someone was to come to a conclusion about what they thought you said, that's not really your fault, is it?
But you've led them to believe that.
Have I? Or isn't that
withholding
their
the truth.
interpretation of it?
I think I go along with the Simon Cowell school on this one, right? We see on these TV programmes all the time where people come up and they have absolutely no hope in a million years of actually sort of entertaining somebody. And then there's a group of people who says, oh, you're wonderful, etc., etc. And then there's good old Simon who says, well, actually, no, that's the worst thing I've ever had.
Yeah. No,
It may
definitely.
cause temporary suffering, but for the majority of people, it prevents a terrible artist from plaguing us for years to come, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Definitely. We've had a message from Kuldeep from Ilford. He said, it depends how harmful the situation is to hide a lie.
Yeah, no, I agree.
So
That's
white
completely
lies-
true.
Yeah, I think I agree with Guldeepji on that one.
Definitely.
I think finding the time to articulate a lie requires you to think about it, and then all your perceptions come in and everything else. I think you stick with something and you say, right, I'm going to speak, and that's truth, and
I think
avoid suffering.
Yeah, I think so. I think to avoid suffering, you've got to be careful in how you speak the truth sometimes as well. You got to take into account where other people are coming from. You can't just, like I said to my mum, no, you look awful. That
there's a way of
wouldn't
saying
go down
things.
great. There is a way of saying these
Definitely.
things. Yeah.
Saying, oh, well, this might look even better, Mum. Why don't you try this dress on instead?
So is anybody courageous out there, courageous enough to say Satya is going to be their new resolution, that whatever comes, they're going to be determined to be completely truthful? If you are, let us know, and let us know how you get on with that one.
I think you can give it a shot.
Yeah,
but I think it's
let's all try and be truthful.
Yeah, okay.
We can make
this radio show is going to be
now.
very interesting. Yeah, with us being
Now on
completely
air.
truthful.
I guess truth is reason.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
The two cannot be separated, I think. I think adhering to reason at all costs and then being truthful, they're part and parcel of the same process, the same philosophy.
Definitely.
We've got a new text message coming. Okay, thank you so much for that. Gurmukhji, you have sent us a Punjabi text, which took us a few minutes to load into our minds that it was actually not English. Satya Sri Akal, what does it mean? Gurmukhji, thank you very much for that. If there's anybody who'd like to share an idea as to what Satya Sri Akal means, they're welcome to phone in and let us know.
Because Satya means...
Satya is truth, yes.
Truth.
There are interpretations of Shri, and Shri is often interpreted as Shakti as well. And
Okay.
Akal is timelessness. And so Satya Shri Akal may well be interpreted as being that truth is always eternal.
Yep, a lot of people interpret it as meaning God is the ultimate truth.
So in 3 words, we have enough potential there for a whole conversation.
Definitely.
But Gurmukhji, thank you so much for that. With regard to, a moment ago, we were just talking about offence. And is being offensive a good thing? I would suggest, how about we make that the subject of next week's reasonable conversation?
Definitely.
What do you think? Yeah?
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, I think I'm going to enjoy that show.
The subject of next week's conversation, reasonable conversation, is going to be political correctness, delighting in giving offence, and perhaps even delighting in receiving offence, if there is such a thing.
Sounds good to me.
So next week we'll be having a reasonable conversation on the delight of offending. Okay, thank you very much for being with us today. This is Satish, and with Prerna and Vivekji on a reasonable conversation, and we will be back here same time, same place next week.